Welcome to the Moviegoers Society podcast, brought to you by Nerdtropolis. I'm your host, Sean Tajipour, the mayor of Nerdtropolis, and joining me for another week is my co-host, Drew Munhausen, the professional media and movie mastermind. What's going on, Drew, and who is behind you?
Okay, well, first off, not only is there a haunting in Venice, but there's a haunting of Kenneth Branagh's Hercule Poirot's mustache creeping over my shoulder here for those that are watching the video. I think it's throwing Sean off his game already, just having the piercing eyes of Kenneth Branagh over my shoulder.
Yeah, there's a lot of distractions going on there, but I dig it. I dig the mustache. But in this podcast, we dive into the world of cinema, exploring everything from beloved classics to the latest blockbusters. And we're on episode 10. Yes, 10. And we have a double feature today, A Haunting in Venice, as Drew mentioned, and A Million Miles Away. But before we get into them, we want to make sure all y'all can connect with us online. You can find me and Nerdtropolis on every social media platform you can think of, at Sean Taj and at Nerdtropolis. And don't forget to visit nerdtropolis.com for your daily dose of movie news, reviews, interviews, and trailers. And Drew, where can they find you when you're not contributing to Nerdtropolis?
You can find me at Drew Munhausen on all the different social medias, particularly X, formerly known as Twitter, and Letterboxd. I'm over there, not posting on Twitter all the time, but on occasion, some thoughts, and especially with Fantastic Fest Film Festival coming up that Sean and I will both be at, I'm sure we'll be tweeting thoughts while we're there. So it'll be a good place for everyone to follow us.
Yeah, Fantastic Fest for us coming up. The next few days is exciting. But also don't forget to catch up on previous episodes of the Moviegoers Society and tune into my podcast, The Nerdtropolis Mayor Presents, which is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and the Nerdtropolis YouTube channel. Before we get into these movies, Drew, I kind of wanted to showcase some things I got in the mail as the Toy Fair is about to happen soon. And I got some fun surprises I wanted to share with y'all. Let's see how this works on camera. But I'm going to start off. I got some Ninja Turtle Mutant Mayhem toys right here. You can see this.
Nice.
So we have the Ninja Kick Cycle here with Leo. So I will be doing some reviews, article reviews, and overviews of these awesome toys. But this is just one of a few I got. But these are really cool. These are from Playmates with the Nickelodeon Mutant Mayhem movie.
Ninja Turtles have always had really cool toys, like even dating back to its origins and cartoons of the early 90s or late 80s. Like they've just always had cool toys.
Yeah, and they are these that I have right now in my hands are the 4.5-inch tall figures of the squad, the four, and they're going to be actually a part of the Toy of the Year and the action figures for the Toy Fair. So these have made over $1 billion, Drew. It is wild seeing all this, but just wanted to show you. Here's Leo, here's Donnie. And I got Mikey here.
Nice.
And Raph. So some really cool stuff. The toys are really cool. The movie's awesome. I love it. But $1 billion, these toys, just for the movie. This is for Mutant Mayhem, made $1 billion. So that's why no one's going really crazy about the box office numbers, I guess, for these. Because they made their money with the toys.
I was going to say, it just goes to show, like, maybe I think that it did fine at the box office. Like it wasn't, the biggest earner of the year by any means, but it just goes to show where these movies can excel in other ways. And so luckily, Sean, I know that it's a beloved property for you. And so you don't have to worry about it going anywhere soon, because if they can keep capitalizing on it with toy sales and everything, there will be more movies and things to come for sure.
Yeah. And a big shout out to Playmates for sending that to me as the Toy Fair is happening. And then I also got these really cool books. They're actually sticker books. So this one is the Avengers Multiverse of Stickers. And this is a beautiful looking book. This is actually really nice looking, really sturdy. And it looks like it's like a real, like a novel or something like that. But inside, it's a bunch of actual stickers that you can pull off.
Okay, some of those are cool, like the different comic book covers and stickers. Stickers, as the parent of a 3.5, almost 4-year-old, stickers are pretty much the bane of my existence at this point. My daughter loves stickers and puts them on everything, and they drive me absolutely insane. However, those are really cool stickers.
Yeah, they are. Look, you even have some Christmas ones. I'm not sure if you can see them.
Holiday themed Avengers stickers.
1,000 stickers in this one. So they have Avengers one, And then they also have a Dark Side Star Wars one, which is really cool.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So there's a couple of cool things. Really love getting cool. Look at this retro. Like this is really cool. So
Oh yeah, those are neat.
there's a little bit of everything, but 1,000 stickers in each of these books. And I will be putting all that information. I'm doing an article on these cool products that we got. I'm a little enamored by what I'm seeing. It's some really cool stuff in there. I'm not even showing you. I'm just like looking at it myself. That's how this book is. I mean, there's so much to look at. Got 1,000 stickers. You can peel them off. You can make them into kind of like frames. I mean, there's so much you can do with them. It's pretty cool.
That's really neat. No, those are slick. Like, you don't think about stickers being, what all you can do with them other than just like, I think of them as kids peeling them, but like you can use them for a lot of cool things. Like you said, like framing and creating murals and things like that. So yeah, those are neat ones.
Yeah. Really cool artwork. So stickers is art, action figures is art that you can enjoy and entertain yourself with. So big shout out to Playmates for those Ninja Turtle toys, which I don't know if I want to take those out of the box. I'm not sure. I like the packaging on those.
Ooh, the collector in me kind of tenses up when you talk about opening the package, but I know that toys are meant to be played with, so or displayed or whatever it may be.
We'll see what happens. But I guess now let's just dive into the eerie canals and uncover the secrets of A Haunting in Venice, which is the third film from Kenneth Branagh of this book series from Agatha Christie?
It is, yeah. So the first two are like really well-known books, Death on the Nile and Murder on the Orient Express. This one of Haunting in Venice is actually based on one called Halloween Party, which I think is one of the lesser known or maybe just less popular of the books, which to me is fun because I think it inspired a pretty cool movie, if you ask me.
Yeah, and it's really a great time to watch a movie like this as Halloween's coming up. And watching the previous two movies, they have totally different vibes to me. I think this one's actually my favorite for many reasons. I love the Venetian setting. I love being in Venice. It's beautiful. It's like you feel like you're transported to Italy. And when I was watching Death on the Nile, I felt like that's like in front of a green screen the whole time or something. It seems like that's so fake looking.
It's actually, I'm glad you said that because that's one of the biggest things that stuck out about A Haunting in Venice to me, because when watching Death on the Nile, I had the same thoughts, like the water and everything in the backgrounds, like it just looks really fake. It doesn't look good. A lot of that movie doesn't look good. And A Haunting in Venice, you can tell from what it looked like to me, it's shot on location. So it just, the whole thing looks great and really captures Venice, I thought, and like you said, the canals and the water taxis and things like that. It looked really good compared to the first two.
Yeah. And Venice itself is like a character is what they did. I mean, I love seeing like the fog and the eeriness and just seeing it's a beautiful place. It's creepy at night for this movie, but it adds layers to the movie of intrigue and suspense and mystique to the story. I just loved it. I liked it more than the previous two when it just comes to setting.
I agree. And then I also thought that the cast that was assembled here was fun. I feel like back when Murder on the Orient Express came out, it had like the cat, it felt like there were a lot of really big names in that cast. And there were some big names in the second movie too. And this one, like you have Michelle Yeoh coming right off of an Oscar win here, but everyone else, it's like Jamie Dornan and I didn't even realize Tina Fey was in the movie until I saw it. So that was like a pleasant surprise, but it didn't feel like the same level of big headliners that was in Murder in the Orient Express. But I thought that actually helped this movie. Like all the actors that are in this are pretty good. And a lot of them they're the people I like to see on my screens. Like I like these people in different things, and seeing them here in this ensemble cast was really fun. In kind of this like horror light setting, I would say. Like there are definitely horror aspects of this movie. It's not like heavy on the jump scares. There were a couple jumps though.
Yeah, it wasn't too scary, but I just like the vibes it was giving off. It was creepy. It was a creepy movie for what it is. And like you mentioned, the cast is actually really good. I just love this is really focused on Kenneth Branagh's character, Hercule Poirot.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's his movie. I feel like we don't have big names and big personality is really taking away from him. It's all about that mustache. I like his look. His look changes, right? Right between movies. I feel like they mildly change, and this is the look I really like.
The mustache is consistent. One of the movies, I can't remember which one, I feel like it's the second one, actually had like an origin story for the mustache. But I mean, that if there's anything that you can rely on being consistent in these movies, it's Hercule Poirot's mustache.
And it looks like it's like a mustache on top of a mustache.
Yeah, and I can't, like, it must be a really good, because surely it's fake, right? Like surely it's stage makeup, like it has to be, but it looks really good. Like they get a lot of close-ups. It looks pretty authentic.
Yeah. And we mentioned Tina Fey, which I loved in this, especially if you watch Only Murders in the Building. And I just felt like this was perfect for her. About solving, like her character was perfect. It was almost like similar to the version she plays in Only Murders in the Building. Very similar character, but a lot of fun. And Michelle Yeoh was really good in this. I really liked her scenes in this as well.
And I'm actually a really big fan of Jamie Dornan. And I feel like there's a lot of people that are like, oh, the 50 Shades of Grey guy. And like, yes, he was in those movies. But ever since those, he's done a lot of actually interesting things. And like he was in Belfast in 2021, and he's really good in it. And he actually has some comedy chops. Like he's in oh gosh, what's the Kristen Wiig movie? Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar. He's in that, and he's actually pretty funny in it. So I really like him, and I'm pro seeing Jamie Dornan in more things. That being said, I feel like his part in this is probably one of the bigger wastes of talent in this movie. Like his character's kind of nothing. Or doesn't have that much to do, which I thought was a shame because it's Jamie Dornan and I really like him, but I was still happy to see him here.
Yeah, and to me, the standout of this film was the youngest actor, Jude Hill.
He was really good. He was
so
really good.
He's actually really good. I like that, and his character was kind of like a miniature adult. If I felt
right. Yeah, it's kind of like a trope with the kid characters, but it really works where you have like all the adults are pretty much running around like fools or trying to figure out, and he's the one that really seems to have the biggest brain on his shoulders and is looking at everything through clear eyes and trying to figure things out. I liked him a lot.
And despite this movie being kind of creepy and somewhat serious, there's actually some humor in this, which I really enjoyed. A lot of humor pops up here and there.
Oh, I just realized, I just put 2 and 2 together. So the boy that you're talking about, Jude Hill, is the lead boy in Belfast, which was also directed by Kenneth Branagh, which he won his screenwriting Oscar for, which Jamie Dornan was in as well. So I just realized that as we're here on the pod connecting things together, that there's some overlap here with Kenneth Branagh directed work. So that's really neat. I'm glad that he's getting work because he's good in Belfast too.
I have not seen that, but I know you give it high praise, and I definitely have to check that. And like Jude Hill's only 13 years old, I think, and he's got a bright future in front of him.
Absolutely.
And the movie, I really like the aesthetics of it too. And we're really in just one building, pretty much one location the whole time. And it didn't bother me. A lot of movies where you're stuck in one place, it kind of gets overwhelming. But it worked with the plot, with the storm coming in and a lot of water coming up. Not coming up, but they're just surrounded by so much water with a storm that evening. So I just like it.
There's a storm. Yeah. You feel like there's this kind of impending doom or something with the water rising. And I think that's one of the interesting things about the house that they're in and being in Venice is that it doesn't necessarily feel super spread out, but there's a lot of layers as far as height go. Like there's several floors here and they're going up and down, and you get kind of confused a little bit about how this place really is laid out because it's like very like it's an older building. There's a lot of history there, which really worked though. Because you just kind of almost get a claustrophobic feel at times with these characters in the house. And like, I just love a good whodunit anyway. And I feel like when Murder on the Orient Express came out, it was almost like a little revival of whodunits because we didn't have as many, and that movie was successful, but then Knives Out came out and I feel like really rebooted not rebooted necessarily, but just reignited the whodunit. And so now Kenneth Branagh has been able to kind of capitalize with that by making 2 more of those movies, these Agatha Christie movies. And I feel like they're they're varying degrees of good. And like, I agree. Haunting in Venice is probably my favorite of the three. And that being said, like, I think it's really good, not great, but it's like, it's pretty solid in my opinion. That being said, I'm always down for a good whodunit. Like, I'll go see any of these. If they keep releasing them, I'll keep seeing them.
And I wonder how much studio pressure Brana has doing these. Like, how much freedom does he have to kind of? The previous two, they put pressure on him to do it a certain way, because I felt like this one is very different. That he had maybe more of his hands on how to do this story, and his performance, I think, is like really fun in this one too. I really liked it. For some reason, it just stood out to me much more.
And that's a good point, because Death on the Nile just really had an interesting narrative around it, because it got delayed a lot due to COVID. And then I think it was released in theaters and on Hulu or something at the same, I don't remember if it was the same time, but it's pretty close together. And I think the reviews on it were like so, and then it had the problem of like Armie Hammer was a lead in it, and that was kind of when all that was happening. So just that movie had a lot to overcome in its marketing and timing. So I'm kind of surprised he got that Kenneth Branagh got to do a round three, and maybe that was part of the sales. Like, we're going to do it. It's going to be totally different tone, and it's going to be more lean into the horror and I think that really worked for this, and especially with it being a lesser known book, and Death on the Nile and Murder on the Orient Express have been done before. Like, there have been films of those before. So those were, essentially remakes of those films. And this one, I believe, is an original. I don't think there's been a movie of this before. I'm looking.
As we mentioned, like the previous two installments, like the first one had such big names in it. And I feel like it took away from Branagh's performance as Hercule Poirot, because there's so many big names. And I'm looking at the list right now. It's just like you got Penelope Cruz and Willem Dafoe and Johnny Depp and Josh Gad and Michelle. I mean, Daisy, so many. And then you go on to obviously the second one, you had Gal Gadot and Armie Hammer, which are pretty big names, and some other folks as well. And then this one, I feel like Branagh gets to really have his main focus on him and his performance, and not have so many big names taking away from his scenes. I don't see anyone else playing this character for at least 10 years. I think he's going to continue to play his character. They're not going to bring anyone in to do it. I think he nailed it. Maybe he brought this to the studio originally to do it and to be this character, unless the studio went after him, which I don't think that's the case. But this is his franchise, I feel like, and this is for him to continue to do as long as he wants to do it.
And I also, the Yellowstone fans who listen to the show are going to be mad that we didn't shout out Kelly Riley, who's in this, and she's actually very good in it too. I can't think of her name from Yellowstone. I'm not Are you a Yellowstone guy, Sean? I know this is off.
I have yet to watch it, but I've seen so many videos and memes of Kelly Riley's character on that, because apparently she like steals the show.
Yeah, my wife likes that show. I haven't watched it. Beth Dutton, that's her character's name. I know her from Flight, the Denzel movie, the Robert Zemeckis movie where he's a pilot. And yeah, anyway, she's good in this. She's a main character. It's her daughter that has been killed, that they're kind of trying to get to the root of what happened to her in the past. And so shout out to Kelly Riley. I just want to make sure she gets her due as well.
So Drew, the question is then, what rating do you give A Haunting in Venice?
I think I'm at a solid 3.5 out of 5, because I looked back at my old ratings of the first two, and I gave actually both of them 3s, and this one I liked a little bit better, so I nudged it to a 3.5.
I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. I think it's a solid, like, kind of a spooky blockbuster you can watch with the whole family. I think anything a lot of different people can watch this movie. It's not technically a horror movie. It has some horror elements in it, but I think everyone can enjoy this, and I think it's pretty light for what it is, but it's really fun.
I'll say this too, like, if you have any hesitations with this, if maybe you like a good whodunit, but you're nervous about it leaning into like the supernatural, is that because the first two movies are very much played like in real world, right? Like it's I mean, it's a fictional story, but it's told, with real life rules. And in the trailer, there are like what appear to be like ghosts and things like that. And without spoiling anything in the movie, I feel like it's all justified in how it comes together. So that's all I'll say. If maybe you're nervous about this traditional whodunit taking a supernatural turn, I'd say go see it and just see what you think.
Yeah, and I think it's a great movie too to start watching now before we get into all these horror movies that are coming out in the coming weeks. We're gonna be bombarded with them soon, but this is definitely a solid watch. So I'd highly recommend it.
The Exorcist and Taylor Swift's concert movie. Yeah, there's a lot.
That is part of the horror genre for some, I guess. You got Five Nights at Freddy's, and we have Saw 10, Saw X, whatever you want to call it. There's just so much more actually coming out just from the ones we just mentioned. And you can actually, a lot of those trailers actually can find on nerdtropolis.com. There's a lot of good stuff coming out. If you like spooky season, Halloween, horror movies, I mean, there's so much coming out. So it will be at Fantastic Fest to cover more. So that's super exciting.
There's hopefully we'll find some hidden gems there. I'm gonna try and see a bunch, and it might be a mixed bag, but hopefully we find some hidden gems.
But Drew, now I think we blast off into the cosmos of A Million Miles Away, which is a biopic of the astronaut Jose Hernandez. I actually got to interview Jose himself and the director at Space Center Houston, which was awesome. We had the shuttle in the background. It was so cool. And so I will be sharing that short interview that we did, I believe, on Tuesday. And it's just such a great story. The story itself is really awesome. Came here at a very young age, migrant workers, and he was very bright at a very young age. Like his teacher knew how bright he had and made sure his parents kind of let him continue his education, even though he had to work. And that's how the migrant farm workers were back then. But I thought it was a beautiful story. What'd you think about it, Drew?
I did. I thought the story was really good and really inspiring. And it does kind of the classic at the end. You see like the real life pictures of Jose. And you can just tell from looking at the photos, you're like, this guy just seems like somebody I want to be friends with. Just seems like a good guy. Now you've got to meet him in person. Did that come across too?
Yeah, it did. Very accomplished man. But this movie is, it's a family story. It's a love story. It's an underdog story. And that's what I really enjoyed about it. It's a bit long, I will admit. And I had problems with how long it was, and kind of wish we saw a bit more of his childhood and more of the transitions and the kind of the hardships he went through. I believe it glossed a lot, which is fine. But he also wrote a book about his life. So maybe that's the best way to really understand the journey of Jose Hernandez.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. It's a really great story, and Jose is a very intriguing character, and I can see why they made this into a movie. If I want to get a little bit nitpicky with the movie itself, I agree. It's a bit too long. It's around 2 hours long. And a big part of his story is like overcoming the adversity and making his way into NASA like that. And the movie's really trying to get across like how difficult it is for him with like his family situation and his upbringing and what all he has to overcome to get there. And so I understand that that's a big part of the movie. That being said, he doesn't actually, I looked at the time of the movie, he doesn't actually get into the NASA astronaut program until an hour and 10 minutes into the movie, which was like a really long time to be setting up that journey. But a lot of it's really important to his story. So I understand why they didn't want to leave some of that out, but it's a little long, but Michael Pena plays Jose, and I thought he was really good. We're used to seeing Michael Pena in a lot of side, supporting character roles, and sometimes he can be comedic relief. But seeing him here as a lead, like he was very charming, and I think he did really, really well as Jose. The only thing is they have, Michael Pena is in his late 40s. Like he's not old per se, but he's in his late 40s, and there are times he's playing Jose when he's younger, right? Like right out of school and getting his career started. For me, it was a little bit hard to get over. Like, okay, he doesn't look like he's, a young buck here. And then they kind of, then he plays more into his age as he gets into NASA and everything. But it was just one of those things that was a mild distraction for me in the movie.
Yeah, that makes sense. But Michael Pena is really great in this. I can't imagine anyone else really playing this character. Not character, but Jose Hernandez, real life astronaut. Great story. I kind of wish the movie had more vibes of kind of like Hidden Figures. where it kind of dived in a little bit further and kind of showed us a little more of the technical side of things too.
And I love space stuff in general. Like I'm a sucker for any kind of space movie. I like NASA stuff. I like NASA training. And so for me, you could have shown me even more of that, like the training that he's actually doing once he's in NASA. There's so much of the training and work that he's doing or putting in to get into NASA, and then once he's there, you see some of that training. I could have seen more of the training if you're going to lean into one or the other. I just love that kind of stuff. Visually very cool, and it just looks it looks difficult. Like it is difficult for astronauts, and it looks like it too when you see it on film.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, it takes us maybe an hour and change to really get into the space side of things. But the rest of the story is very important. Like I said, his upbringing, his family is very important, meeting his wife, very important. They're all part of his journey. That's why he made it to where he is. There's a lot of reasons why. Family, wife, teacher. I mean, there's so much of support that he had to do this. And that's why I think they really wanted to showcase that too, which somewhat worked. But like you said, you want to see more space.
Yeah, Rosa Salazar plays his wife in the movie, which I know her from Alita Battle Angel, which is a movie I really like, and I really like her in it. And I'm just looking back at her filmography and the movies that she's done. You know, she's in like a couple of the Maze Runner movies and Bird Box and so on. And so this is like a bigger dramatic role for her as this wife who's struggling with 5 children at home while her husband's, pursuing his dream. And I thought she was okay. There are some parts of it that, it's probably one of the bigger dramatic roles she's had to take on. So I'm not trying to judge too much because she's an actress I like. I don't know if she was miscast here or what, but I still found her overall pretty likable. That being said, to pull out the parenting card here, I have one child at home, right? And that is difficult a lot of times. Like it can be really hard. And there's a point in this movie where they are just pumping out kids, and like he goes from having 1 kid to 2 to 5, like instantly. And my head was spinning. I was like, oh my God, it just like stresses me out because that's a lot of kids, and it's hard. It's hard. And she's, almost having to single mom it some of the time with these 5 kids because, being supportive of Jose chasing his dream to be an astronaut. And I mean, that's a lot of stress that it puts on yourself and your relationship.
A lot of things to overcome, and it's all showcased in this movie.
Yeah, you can tell, at least from what I saw when in the credits of the real life Jose and pictures of him and his wife, and like, he had a picture of him and his wife in space and things. It feels like their relationship must be really strong in real life, and that's why they wanted to really showcase that in the movie.
Yeah, if you want to watch A Million Miles Away, you can actually watch it for free on Prime Video. It's already out there, so it's definitely worth the watch. It's very cool just kind of seeing how someone becomes really an astronaut, especially when you feel like you don't have a chance to. I'm sure there's many times where he gave up, but he just kept going and going and made his dreams come true. And it's just historical.
Yeah, I overall was in positive on this movie. I'd say there's some things you can nitpick, but overall it's a strong performance from Michael Pena and an inspiring story in what's a pretty traditional biopic.
What do you give a rating for A Million Miles Away, Drew?
I'm probably like a 3 out of 5.
Okay. I bump it up to a 4 out of 5. I thought just this is a great story. Just I love seeing the family dynamic and then how supportive his wife was. Stuff like that. Just like in the movie where his dad was tearing up and he says, I just have dust in my eyes. I had some dust in my eyes in this movie. So that's why I give it a 4 out of 5. It got me. It got me sometimes.
The last like 40 minutes of the movie I thought were really strong. I just felt like it took a little too long to get there. I think there's a version of this movie where you cut a little bit out, make it a little bit tighter, and it's a little bit better flow.
Yeah, for sure. And if you want to learn more about Jose Hernandez's journey, he has a great book out. And I'll have an interview with him and the director coming up on the next day. So definitely check that out on nerdtropolis.com. Drew, what's going to be next for us? We're going to be at Fantastic Fest. We got some movies. We're going to try to watch The Toxic Avenger, The Pet Cemetery. What else were we trying? There's a couple secret screenings we're going to try to catch.
Last year they had 2 secret screenings, which were we got to see Werewolf by Night and the new Hellraiser reboot last year. This year there's 4 secret screenings, so there's definitely a lot of speculation there. There's some other things I'm looking forward to seeing. There's a movie called Eileen that was previously at Sundance that has Thomas and McKenzie and Anne Hathaway in it that I'd like to see while I'm there. A few different foreign horror films. There's going to be some decent stuff.
And you brought up Werewolf by Night, which we saw last year. Did you hear that they're re-releasing that in color?
I have mixed feelings about this. I did see it. I thought that movie was so great, or whatever movie, short film, whatever you want to call it. I thought it was so powerful, and the black and white was such a good aesthetic and tone setter for that. So I'm like, I don't think it really needed this, but I also understand them wanting to capitalize before Halloween and doing a re-release. I'll probably watch it. Well, I haven't watched it since we saw it at Fantastic Fest, so I'm due a rewatch of it anyway.
Oh yeah, you need to. I watched that I think 2 more times once it hit Disney Plus, and I think they're supposed to have another special presentation this year, but due to everything going on, they couldn't do it. So maybe this is their way, and it's going to be on Hulu as well. So they're dropping things on Hulu to kind of get some attention over there.
I've noticed that. I've noticed a lot of the. I saw a slate of like Disney Plus's Halloween projects and things that are coming out, like the Goosebumps series and things there. And there were a few things that said like a Disney Plus and Hulu release, which I think that's a smart move.
But I don't get it, to be honest. It's confusing to me. I maybe understand maybe for international markets, but they have like Star or something over there. But I don't know why I'm paying for both. And I don't know why when I'm seeing titles on both things. And Disney owns majority of Hulu, and are they going to phase it out? I need to talk to someone. Disney, I need to know, because I don't miss Hulu as much. There's a few things I do watch on there, but if they could just put it all on one and not charge me double, that'd be great.
There's a lot of weird things going on behind the scenes at Disney with like them potentially selling some of their network TV stations or not. Like, is ABC for sale? It's unclear. They say no, but then behind the scenes, I'm hearing different. The same thing for if they could potentially spin off ESPN and sell that. Like, there's a lot of weird things going on, and the Hulu situation's really weird. I would have thought it would have been like rolled into Disney Plus by now, but it's not. So maybe they'll sell that one day, and maybe putting these things on it is making it more appealing for a sale. I have no idea. This is all just like wild speculation. Who knows? It's very at the end of the day, it's odd. And I agree with you. If you're paying for both and these things are on both, why pay for both? It doesn't make sense.
And they're doing a price hike already. I think I have like that triple bundle. I don't know what ESPN Plus is. I don't know. I don't think I opened it once. I'm a sports guy, but I'll just watch live sports. I don't know what else is on. I know there's some documentaries and maybe the Peyton Manning thing, but I'm not dying for that stuff. And I don't want more apps. I don't want more streaming apps. I already have everything else. And now, to be honest, I'm just looking at what can I cut now, because I'm not watching as much as I used to, and nothing's really catching my eye. Netflix has been cranking up their prices, and I'm not watching much on Netflix, especially new stuff. The Witcher, I gave up on. They broke up the last season with Henry Cavill with a 2-parter. I'm like, why would you make us wait to really just do it all at once? And so I just gave up. I didn't watch, I don't think, the second part of the final season with him. One Piece I didn't get through all the way. I started
watching that, and I've never watched a single minute of the anime. I'm not familiar with it at all. And I kind of like the Netflix show, but I'm not like attached to it, but I think it's kind of fun. But otherwise I'm with you.
Yeah, it's fun, but like, what else am I going to watch after that? I'm not sure. I went on a home improvement binge on Disney Plus. I watched I watched all 8 seasons within maybe 2.5 to 3 weeks.
Oh my goodness.
Loved it. Give me more of that. I love that. And then obviously I started watching Last Man Standing on Hulu because I wanted more Tim Allen fix. And I like it. It's just home improvement with daughters, which is great. It's a little bit more modernized and stuff like that. So I've been watching that and just Getting my Tim Allen fix.
There's multiple Santa Claus movies you can catch up on. I think there's a Santa Clauses series on there. I mean,
there's a season 2 coming out
for you now.
Oh, there's season 2. It's going to be great. I watch all of those. I'm a big fan of Tim Allen. So that's been watching. But other than that, I don't know. Do you have any recommendations for me?
Oh, that's a weighted question that I was not prepared for.
I know, it's okay.
Sean.
We'll have to have we have to have some picks on our next episode, maybe is what we'll do.
I know there's some
watching.
There's some upcoming things. Actually, at Fantastic Fest, they're showing the first 2 episodes of the Fall of the House of Usher series that's coming out soon, which that's another Mike Flanagan horror series, which if you've seen what's it called? The Haunting of Bly Manor. And he did, what's the vampire one called that I can't think of what it's called. People are going to be mad at me.
I remember seeing Haunting of Bly Manor, and he is very good at putting these things together. There was a sequel to, is it a sequel or a follow-up to Haunting of Bly Manor, or like a spin-off?
There was, and I'm again, you caught me off guard with this question, so I didn't have it all up. I'm
the Midnight Club. You had the Haunting
of Hill House. Haunting of Hill House was the original one. That's the
okay. So
really
good
one.
That was the really good one. I couldn't get into Bly Manor. He did is Dr. Sleep his as a writer or director?
He directed Dr. Sleep. He directed Gerald's Game, and Ouija Origin of Evil, which are all like really solid.
Dr. Sleep was really good. I actually liked it a lot.
I loved Dr. Sleep. And then we've got The Haunting of Hill House, The Haunting of Bly Manor, Midnight Mass, and The Midnight Club, and then now The Fall of the House of Usher is his upcoming one. So I think that comes out in October, but the first 2 episodes are going to be at Fantastic Fest, and
I think they sent me a screener for that one. I think I can watch that at home, so I might have to catch those. The funny thing is, I just looked up Mike Flanagan is from The Ultimate Place. If you're going to be a horror guy, where would you think he's born?
Maine.
Close. Salem, Massachusetts is where he is
close
born.
Enough. I only said Maine because there's so much Stephen King work that's set in Maine, and I know Mike Flanagan's done a lot of Stephen King adaptations, and he's a big fan.
The funny thing is, I interviewed Eduardo Sanchez, the co-director of the Blair Witch Project, and he still lives like 20 minutes away where they filmed the Blair Witch Project over there. So these guys, I guess, that do horror come from the East Coast up there.
Very cool.
So a little fun fact there.
Salem, Massachusetts is pretty appropriate.
Yeah. So I'll definitely catch that and probably give some of our thoughts after Fantastic Fest. We'll have that. If you haven't yet, check out previous episodes of the Moviegoers Society. Check out my podcast, Nerdtropolis Mayor Presents. I'll have some interviews for you there. And once again, Drew, where can they find you?
You can find me at Drew Munhausen on all the social media and over weekly at Fresh Out the Podcast, where we talk about all kinds of things. We talk about movies, but we also talk about TV shows and video games and whatever else we're enjoying that week. So that's Fresh Out the Podcast.
Thanks again for joining us for another episode of the Moviegoers Society podcast. I am Sean Tajipour, the mayor of Nerdtropolis, and we will see you at the movies.